Good evening, folks. The regular meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, May 28th, 2024 will come to order. Please join me in silencing your cell phones. Travis Kendrick from the City Clerk's Office will be serving as our clerk tonight. Mr. Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hartman,
Present.
Commissioner Martin,
Present.
Vice Mayor Perrine,
Here.
Commissioner McGurk,
Here.
Mayor Cleveland.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Police Department Senior Chaplain Tom Purcell will give the invocation. Would you please rise for the invocation?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity that you give us, Lord. We live in this wonderful community and you bless us, Lord. I pray that you would protect these individuals here in front of us, Lord, these commissioners and officials that give us their time, Lord, and give them the wisdom, knowledge, and discernment necessary and temperament necessary to make the wise decisions, Lord, in the incoming future and today. And Lord, I pray that you put your hedge of protection around them and whatever they do and accomplish brings glory to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please remain standing as Marley Shalcom will come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. She's a sophomore at Burns SciTech. She works at the Crimson House after hours, and she's already accumulated 100 hours of volunteer time for the city of New Smyrna Beach. She's dual enrolled for AA, and she wants to join local government.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Marilee. Please be seated. Mr. City Manager, any changes to the published agenda, sir?
Yes, sir. I have two changes. Item 7R, as in Robert, would like to continue that to June 11th. And then item 8A, and that is again continued to June 11th. So these both items to be moved to June 11th meeting. That's
Good.
it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. We'll move on to announcements and recognition. At this time, I would invite Wendy Wishmeyer from Advent Hospital. She is the division director of the Neuroscience Division at Advent Hospital for a proclamation, please. Join the commission and I at the podium. City of New Smyrna Beach proclamation recognizing May as ALS Awareness Month. Whereas amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, known by many as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive, fatal neurodegenerative disease in which a person's brain loses connection with the muscles, slowly taking away their ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And whereas every 90 minutes, someone is diagnosed with ALS and someone passes away from ALS, on average, patients diagnosed with ALS will survive 2 to 5 years from the time of diagnosis, and ALS has no cure. And whereas securing access to new therapies, durable medical equipment, and communications technologies is of vital importance to the people living with ALS, and whereas clinical trials play a pivotal role in evaluating new treatments, enhancing quality of life, and fostering assistive technologies for those living with ALS. And whereas we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Ice Bucket Challenge through a renewed commitment to galvanize public awareness and support for funding, leading to significant investments in ALS research. And whereas our commitment to accelerating the pace of discovery remains unwavering, fueled by the hope that one day ALS will be a livable disease for everyone everywhere until we can find a cure. And whereas ALS Awareness Month increases public awareness of people with ALS dire circumstances and acknowledges the terrible impact this disease has not only on the person, but on his or her family and the community, and recognizes that the research being done to eradicate this disease. Now, therefore, I, Freddie Cleveland, the mayor of the city of New Smyrna Beach, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as ALS Awareness Month and call upon all Americans to join in supporting ALS research, advocating for increased funding, and standing in solidarity with those affected from this relentless disease. ALS Awareness Month. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 28th day of May 2024. I've signed it as your mayor. One more, you guys. Will the members of the Juneteenth Committee please join the commission at the podium, please? City of New Smyrna Beach proclamation recognizing June 19th as Juneteenth Independence Day. Whereas on the 19th of June, 1865, federal authorities who had arrived in Galveston, Texas, informed slaves that the Civil War had ended and that enslaved were now free. Whereas June 19th, or Juneteenth, as it's commonly recognized and celebrated as a day of slavery being ended in the United States of America. And whereas African American slaves in the Southwest celebrated June 19th as the anniversary of their emancipation and of their descendants handed down the tradition from generation to generation as an inspiration and encouragement for future generations. And whereas Juneteenth has been celebrated for more than 132 years, and whereas Juneteenth celebration honors the memory of those who endured slavery and those who moved from slavery to freedom, and their examples of faith and strength of character remains a lesson for all Americans today, regardless of background, religion, or race. And whereas the annual observance of June 19th as Juneteenth Independence Day is an important, enriching part of our history, our country's history and heritage, President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law on June 17th, 2021, officially making Juneteenth a federal holiday. Juneteenth is the 11th federal holiday and the first new holiday since the Martin Luther King Jr. Day was created in 1983. Now, therefore, I, Freddie Cleveland, mayor of the city of New Smyrna, do hereby recognize June 19th of each year as Juneteenth Independence Day in New Smyrna Beach and urge all citizens to honor the past, celebrate the present, and embrace the future, and learn about the resilience and achievements of those who helped shape our nation. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 28th day of May 2024, and I've signed it as your mayor. Congratulations, committee. I want to thank the committee. Thank you all. We're looking forward to a great Juneteenth this year. Thank goodness. Mr. City Manager, your report, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. The Vice Mayor Perrine, myself, and Code Enforcement met with the Board of Realtors. That was to discuss the illegal temporary signs that they are placed in the right-of-way. And typically, the Code Enforcement pick up the signs, and we store them at some of our dumpsters we have throughout the city. So we're trying to be proactive. We wanted to pick up the signs, but find an area where we could store the signs for a month, and then they could pick it up at the first Monday of every month. As you know, we are leasing the building at Minerva Center on Myrtle Avenue for code enforcement and parking enforcement. So we're figuring if we could maybe create a containment area there, 8 by 8, where we could place those temporary signs, because obviously they're expensive, they could be reused, trying to help our businesses with the real estate. So that would be hopefully be done here within the next month that we could do that. Also, myself and staff met with the consultant for the artificial intelligence. This is for the permitting and plan review. This is our second meeting with them. The second meeting we had, the lady who was responsible, the project manager, excuse me, she was sick, so she wasn't able to be on that meeting, but we have a meeting scheduled coming up soon that we could discuss with them. But at the end of the day, we probably go for an RFP or piggyback on one of the other cities' contract, but we'll bring it back to the commission. It's really, we were trying to have the artificial intelligence be used to be more efficient and be more effective and reduce some time on our permitting process. So I think that would be a step forward. I don't think there's any other city in Volusia County that they have even, I don't know if they even looked at it, but we're trying to get there. I also attended Team Volusia accreditation reception on May the 16th. This is really big for Volusia County because Team Volusia was recognized through the International Economic Development Council as the 81st accredited economic development organization in North America. I mean, that is big for Volusia County. So our hats off to Team Volusia and all the other cities that participate with it. Also, Commissioner Hartman and staff met with Venetian Bay Homeowner Association, as well as the Homeowner Association for the Portofino, to go over the draft report that our staff has developed using the new software that we received. That's all I got, Mayor, and my apology, I did not have time to respond to the public participation from the last meeting. I will respond to those and the next meeting at the next meeting. So
Perfect, that'll be helpful. Thank you, sir. Any questions for the city manager on his report?
Yes, I have one, and it's just a follow-up to what you mentioned about the meeting with the Board of Realtors that we had. I forgot to mention in our briefing today, but Scott, that's when the board reached out to me, a follow-up on disclosures that we mentioned. And he just wanted to let us know that there is an approved disclosure sitting on Governor DeSantis's desk waiting to be signed, but it's concerning floods in Florida. So for the new sales that are upcoming for homes, everyone's going to have to sign this new flood disclosure once the governor approves that. So that's one of the questions that we had, to make sure that our city is in compliance with flood disclosure.
And this is, Mayor, just, I guess, for the public. We discussed about having the disclosure for flooded homes. So we wanted to make sure that the Board of Realtors on board, and also that's what she mentioned, that the governor has a bill actually right now, it's going on. So I think it's something good for our residents and also for the community to have this on hand. So
Certainly for new
Thank you,
buyers,
Vice
beware.
Mayor.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay, we'll move on to public participation now. If there are any citizens who wish to speak to the commission, this is your opportunity. It's a one-way conversation. It's a monologue from you to us. We will not be answering questions. When you come forward, your name and address, please, for the record. You'll see a green light come on when you start to talk, and the yellow light at 1 minute to go, and the red light when you should be done. So look forward to hearing from you about what you want to tell us and what you think we need to hear from you directly. It could be an accolade for a member of the city staff, and it could be a concern you have about your neighborhood. I see Bob Johnson. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commission. I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Edwards and the staff for putting on your consent agenda tonight, an event for you all to attend in June. June 19th is going to be a busy day, obviously, but this will be our 4th annual Southeast Volusia Regional Economic Summit. Did I say my name and address and all that stuff? No. I'm Bob Williams, 767 Pine Shore Circle, and I'm here also to represent the Southeast Volusia Chamber of Commerce. And so I know you all are very familiar with this. You've been participating, but for the benefit of the public, we want them to know they are invited as well. It's at the Brannon Center from 9 to noon on the 19th. What we will be reviewing is what our goals are with the strategic regional plan, which include ensuring value-added, higher-paying jobs for today and future generations, expanding the commercial property tax base, reducing the burden of taxes on local residents, ensuring the wealth and resilient economic future of our community, and improving the quality of life for everyone. This is the 4th annual summit. This year we will be, in addition to reviewing the accomplishments and status updates of what we've done so far, we're also going to be talking about how we can enhance our strategic character and charm and get some local business perspectives on the authenticity of our community with regard to the environment, the arts, as well as hospitality and tourism. We are also going to hear from Team Volusia on how our strategic plan aligns with their recruiting effort countywide. And then we are going to talk some more about a master plan for targeted regions identified in our previous summits, particularly as we grow into the new areas in the west of Edgewater and New Smyrna Beach. And there will be time also for you all to share your thoughts. So again, we encourage the public to come out, and we thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks, Bob. I think I called you Johnson. I know you're Bob Williams. Anybody else for public participation? See Dr. Herman. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission, and staff. Randy Herman, 108 Esther Street. Just a few comments. The first, I'd like to underline the proclamation about ALS. Many of you know that Kate Canfield, one of our leading community members and a fantastic acupuncturist, died of ALS in a very fast decline, probably less than 12 months. My daughter's mother-in-law died less than 9 months from ALS, but I do have a very dear friend in Minnesota who has broken all records and has lived almost 10 years and is leading the Ice Bucket Brigade in Minnesota. So I think it was really wonderful that this is underlined. It's a horrific disease, and it really, I was surprised when I started counting up the people I know that have it and have struggled with it. So I'm glad we are recognizing it. The second, I want to thank the mayor and the city staff for an excellent Memorial Day, although it was a bit warm. The presentations were terrific. The turnout, it looked to me like double from last year. And as a Vietnam-era vet, I personally and professionally know a lot of pretty tough stories from that war, and taking the time to honor and to remember is so important. So I thank the city for really doing a fantastic job. The last thing is a compliment, and my grandkids have this thing they call roses and thorns. So at dinner they say, well, what was your rose today and what was your thorn? Well, my rose is the parking lot that's just about completion on 3rd and right behind Walgreens. I have never seen a more beautiful landscaped parking lot in my life. It's really coming together, and it demonstrates what can be done, and which will enhance the city and enhance, obviously, the parking situation. My thorn is the other parking lots that are in pretty bad shape. The one on Buenos Aires, the one on Columbus, the one on Jessamine, and the smoke shop on the corner of Flagler and South Atlantic. So I think if we can have that example as a standard, then I hope we can follow up and push those other people to do the same. Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
sir. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Hall.
Good evening. Phil Hall, 3365 Katarina Drive in New Smyrna. First, I'd like to thank you on behalf of our 450 pickleball club members for the great things you did at Pettis and Rocco Park. Pickleball continues to grow, and to take an existing facility without having to start from scratch and bring it up to the quality that the city now has available at those two locations is something to be very proud of. Pettis Park now is getting used on all four courts and still has 10 to 11, 12 people waiting. Rocco Park, which was a nice little secret park for a while, has had a number of beginner ladies out there, and they are getting 10 to 14 people every Sunday morning playing pickleball and then going to breakfast together. The parks are being used because of the great work that you guys have done. On another note, I am here today to issue a challenge to the New Smyrna Beach first responders for the NSB First Responders Pickleball Cup to be held on September 28th at Detweiler Park. The police department and the fire department have told me they will have their teams ready. We are going to give them a lesson in pickleball, so they better come ready to play. I hope we'll see you all there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate those comments and the challenge. Well, Jess.
Jess Romero, 708 South Cooper Street. Today I come to you on regards to items 8A, which was pulled to June 11th, or June date there, and 8B. I recall standing in this room maybe a year ago, a year and a half ago, I can't recall the date, and I believe it was the high school wanted a waiver of fee for their event at the Brandon Center. And I believe that guidance was given for that, and now I had not seen these requests for a while, and I believe some of the guidance that was given is that Monday through Thursday, they can get a waive and a fee, and I believe nothing on weekends. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it's something that to be looked at. But in this case, there's already guidance for this process here, from what I recall. There's already rules put out, what I recall. I could be wrong. I haven't got the paperwork exactly on here. But as we do this, like I said before, we're trying to get the Brandon Center to make money. If we start doing waiving fees, how are you going to make money? If you're a 501c or nonprofit, you come in and say, you know what, we do this for you, you can do this for us. So there needs to be some kind of balance. I agree with waiving some of the fees on a moving scale. And if you do have it ready from Monday through Thursday, that's fine. But on the weekends when the money comes in, it should not be waived. And these companies do have money to spend. They're nonprofit, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Appreciate those comments. Sir.
My name is Jim Hardy. I live at 909 Merch Lane. I also own the property next door at 1101 Sugar Mill Drive. My concern is Rolling Hills is water retention. They, I don't know where they're going to dump their water or where it's going to go. But the big ditch that drains Sugar Mill Gardens, comes down through there. And my property is actually, that part of my property is wetlands. but it's considered, you know, it's adjacent to the big ditch that Sugar Mill and them drain into. And also behind my house and all the other people who live on the east side of Merch Lane, there's a ditch that comes out and dumps into the big ditch just on the north side of my property. And then, as I do a lot of walking, I noticed that in Copper Creek, there is two stormwater outfalls that are going into the little ditch that goes behind our place, and I guess it's the FAA farm or whatever on the other side. And with that, all that water coming out of there and the water coming out, and when they were rebuilding the ditch, the county was, I talked to the supervisors down through there, and they said that they were told that Rolling Hills was going to be dumping 3 stormwater outlets into that ditch. And he said if they do that, the county has told them New Smyrna or the homeowners are going to own that ditch because the county will abandon it. But it's just something, where everything's said and done, needs to be looked at on that stormwater and what this is going to do, because I don't care how many retention ponds you dig, you ain't going to contain it all. Anyway, that's my story. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else for public participation?
Good evening. I'm David Reed, 4392 South Sea Mist Drive. First thing I'd like to talk about is I believe the school resource officer at the middle school is up for renewal, and the funding for that is up for discussion. And our one of our daughters is going to be attending the school next year, and we would greatly support the resource officer being in place. And just kind of word around town is that, you know, for a change, you're hearing more positive things about the middle school than negative things, which seems to be headed in the right direction, and just encourage that. And then the last meeting, you might remember, we spoke about the lot split issue at 4393 South Sea Mist Drive. And not trying to light you guys up too much, women, on the email, it's just trying to get some attention to this matter. And through some more research and correspondence, have determined that there was a ordinance 2-11 back in 2011 was passed to allow the platted 50-foot lots to be considered buildable even if the lot does not meet current zoning requirements. And we request that this be reconsidered to amend that amendment to take that back to where zoning requirements are to be followed. And furthermore, if a moratorium could be placed on permits for such splits right now while this gets considered, that would be greatly appreciated in our situation, so it doesn't have a lasting impact, only to be a day late and $1 short in our neighborhood if it was in fact amended. And just to kind of cut to the chase on the way that ordinance was done, it was in the staff report, it noted that the staff report said the neighborhoods, the negatives of it, the neighborhoods may prefer larger lots, the smaller lots may not fit into the city vision, and the same results could be potentially obtained by rezoning properties. And in my opinion, the ordinance 2-11 was designed to benefit investment property owners, not investment property owners and home builders, not the homeowners. And you know, even if variances were required for such lot splits, it would give the neighborhood time, you know, the ability to voice their concerns. Not say that there's no way it could happen, but just think it's something worth considering.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Thank you. Hello, Cindy.
Everyone, Cindy Sneezak, 512 Yupon. My comments tonight are about an umbrella over several agenda items that you have on this meeting, that you're probably going to have on the next meeting. And it's really about the concept of you looking at the whole, the part, and the whole. And I'm going to get back to that at the end. I've been watching zoning meetings lately, and there's been some very large changes put through and approved by zoning, which you would be considering. One of them will have a first reading and a hearing tonight. They're really far-reaching in terms of what they will do to change the complexion of the community. So please, when you're listening to the attorneys, the developers, their experts making presentations, I ask that you listen with a good dose of common sense and a fair amount of skepticism. I'm not sure I saw that going on at the zoning meeting, not because I'm opposed to either of the two things that are coming your way actually happening, but I was maybe not reading things closely enough to anticipate just how large the ask was going to be. So I'd also really beg you to ask hard questions, not just of the staff, but of the attorneys and the experts that are making their presentation. Even when some questions are asked, I've noticed that the responses kind of skate around the edge of the question, and without a follow-up, you may not be getting the whole story. You may just be getting the favorable parts of it. And that's not a dig on anyone, that's just my life as an analyst. So for one of the things being considered tonight during Park, the developer's ask is very big. There's no question that we will benefit by having development of that parcel. But we should, because the ask is so big, not be so willing to accept minimum contributions by the developer for public land and uses within that community. 6 million square feet of space, 2,000 plus homes on top of what Edgewater has already approved, which I think was in the neighborhood of 8,000 residences, not homes, I should have said residences, and that'll all connect. So it's nice to hear someone say, well, live, work, play. I've been through all of that in Orlando. I've been through it in Celebration when I worked for Disney. Live, work, play is a really nice concept, but very, very hard to get anywhere close to the benefits that people ask for it. So those 10,000 plus residences are going to affect our traffic and our infrastructure. So that gets me back to the whole. Any changes that you're considering, you really need to put them together with everything else that's on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments, Cindy.
Hi, Teresa Pope, New Smyrna Beach Housing Authority, 1101 South Dixie Freeway. And I want to take this time to thank the Mayor, City Commission for all the support that you have given us for affordable housing. Green Lawn Manor's ribbon cutting grand opening will be on July 12th at 9 a.m. You're all invited to that. We will have some folks from HUD and Congressman Corey Mills, some other folks there with us, and the mayor will be speaking for us. And we thank you for your support when we move forward with Phase 2, which will be a family development. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate all your work, Teresa.
Hi, my name's Nick Moorback. I live at 4429 Doris Drive.
Hello, Nate.
How you doing? To reiterate my neighbor, Dave Reed, I too live in the neighborhood. It's kind of on the border of Seawoods, which has the saltwater oaks, shade and everything like that. I too want to request a moratorium on the applications for the vision of the 50-foot plats. If this comes about, it's going to actually, to put it bluntly, it's going to ruin the neighborhood basically, because everybody who walks by, walks their dogs by or anything like that, it's beautiful, it's shade and everything like that. And that's the reason why I moved there. That's the reason why a lot of people walk through that area, for the beautiful trees. And if this continues, it's just going to be horrible. And I moved away from a city like that. If you could tell by my accent, I'm not going to tell you where I'm from, but I'm sure you can guess. But I just want to put that out there. It'll ruin the neighborhood. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Get it. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else for public participation? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. On to the consent agenda, we have 18 items on there. Does any member of the commission or the city manager wish to comment on any of them before we pull some off? Any comments? Yes, ma'am.
Just on 7F comment.
7F. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sick. Love the idea of a joint meeting, but would also like to see what's actually been accomplished for, from the initiatives from the past ones. And regarding the draft NSB action strategy, the percentage of workshop attendees with an opinion is referenced, but the total number of attendees is not. So I can't tell whether we are relying on the information from 4 people or 440. But I think it's important to know when we're taking that information in, what that number really represents. Then on the SEV strategy items, so this is a question, first 3D and second 3D, because I think there was a typo. It should have said 3C and then 3D. I was just curious how many of these events have taken place at Babe James. I'm sorry I forgot to ask you this morning. Then regarding the SEV Regional Economic Development Strategic Plan, note that the first bullet item from 2009, 2019, and 2023 references a walking-friendly city, yet we have done very little to make that a reality. Particularly beachside, many residents and visitors walk on the roads because there's no sidewalks to protect them. And then the last one is with the massive amount of flooding that the city has experienced and the huge cost and hit to our budget. I wonder if we need to rethink our priorities as they apply to land use. And that's where I'm going on that one.
Gotcha.
Thanks.
Okay, appreciate those comments. Anybody else want to make a comment on any of the items before we go down? Okay. Anyone would like to pull any of the items on the consent agenda?
Well, no.
Anybody want to pull any of those items? Okay, seeing none,
Move to approve consent agenda?
we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Madam, Mr. Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Harmon,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes, thank you very much. We have deferred item 8A, which is the Sheriff's Department request, and we'll move on to item 8B.
Can we get a motion to continue on item 8A?
Sure. We have a motion to continue item 8A.
continue
We
item
have a
8A.
motion for item 8A to continue. Is there a second?
Second.
It's a second. Mr. City Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk,
Was that McGurk?
Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk, Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner Harmon,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, deferred.
By the way, Mayor, we
Sir.
did not need a motion to continue the item on the consent agenda,
Right.
but we needed one on this one. So
Okay,
just in case somebody
I'm
asks-
clear now. I appreciate you and the city attorney keeping me straight here. Okay, we're fortunate to have Leisure Service Director Rob Salazar here. This is to consider the Brennan Center for the Habitat for Humanity's 35th Anniversary Gala. Rob, your report, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commission. My office received a request from the Habitat for Humanity to consider the waiver of the fees associated with the Brennan Center for their 35th Anniversary Gala and the fees associated with Live Oak Cultural Center for a volunteer appreciation event. Previously, the City Commission has provided guidelines permitting fee waivers or reductions of the center's exclusively Monday through Thursday. These guidelines were proposed in early '23. I do not have the discretion to administer any fee waivers. That discretion lies with the City Commission. We wanted to give you the opportunity to review the request. The Brennan Center rate for the event requested on Saturday, October 5th, would be for the gala, would be approximately $4,000. And then the rate requested for the Live Oak event on November 4th, which is a Monday, which would fall in the previously approved guidelines for waivers, would be 5 to 10 p.m. with the nonprofit rate of 50% off would be $200. So the request is to waive both of those reservation fees.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody have questions for Mr. Salazar?
I just
Vice
have a comment. I think we keep seeing these appeals to our fees, but I don't know if the people that keep putting these requests in know that we actually changed this fee structure and we can't give waivers of these 50%. I mean, if we do for one, we're going to have to, like the audience said, we have to continue. We set these rules so the Brandon Center can break even, to say the least. And I spent an hour on the phone today about leisure services to a gentleman because we weren't given the 5th grade basketball people free. We can't, where's the line with nonprofits? We've got to stick with our originally planned and recommend, strongly that they make this through the week so they can get the 50% discount, no matter who it is, or we should start charging for appeals because it's taking staff time.
Any other comment? Just Commissioner Martin.
We set a policy regarding fee waivers. In the last few months, we have deviated from our policy, which I think is regrettable. At the April 23rd meeting, we skirted that policy by retaining the fees for 2 nonprofit applicants, but paying those fees from the commission discretionary account. We have to be judicious in violating our own policies and aware that we're setting precedents that could be reasonably cited by new applicants. I think we have to draw a hard line and follow our own policies.
Okay. Any other comments? I've got one, and I suspect the other two do. Commissioner Hartman.
So with that, we did follow our policy because the fee waiver was cut in half because it was nonprofit. We just paid the balance of the fee out of our discretionary funds.
No, I understand.
There can be no interruption when the commissioners are speaking.
So we didn't violate our own policy. We followed our own policy. And, to the subject at hand, this was about children fishing. So, I certainly think that that's part of what we should be doing with taxpayer dollars, is encouraging the youth of our community to be active and support those who look out after our kids. So that's why I didn't have a problem with paying the few fees. Now, with regards to this, so the Saturday fee would be $4,000, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then the other would be a $200 fee.
Correct.
I do have some concerns with, we're doubling up in the same fiscal year for the same entity, so I have a little bit of concern there. I'm not sure how I'm going to vote yet, so.
Commissioner McGurk.
So, as I've said previously, drawing a hard line in the sand is almost impossible. When we decided to build a Brandon Center, we thought we were going to do that. But the fact of the matter is, I need some discretion because I'm not going to treat everybody the same. That's just, unfortunately, the way it's going to be. If I see a local community organization, nonprofit, that contributes dramatically to the community and is part of the community and the community leaders of participating in making this a better city and community for everybody, I'm gonna weigh that differently than if an organization comes in that is an outside organization and claims that they're gonna, bring something that feels good and nice to the community. It's very difficult, and this is a very challenging issue, and it always has been, and I believe it always will be. So what's important to me is, if this building is sitting idle for that night, and there is a very good charitable organization coming in who is very close to this community and deeply involved in the community, I'm going to be very, very understanding to that organization to either waive the fee entirely or dramatically. But each case is going to be judged differently by me. I will try to follow as much of our policy as possible, but I cannot tell you that I will not deviate from that policy depending on the circumstances of what comes before us.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate those remarks. Before we go back again, is there anyone here from Habitat for Humanity that would have anything that they might share to enlighten us? Anybody here at all from Habitat? Okay.
I don't think they heard you, Mayor.
Ms. Walker, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I was busy talking, so wasn't paying attention. Sorry.
That happens a lot when I start talking.
But as you know, my name is Kay Walker, and I have been a business person in this town for 30 years. I retired about 18, 19 years ago, and it's my way of giving back, is just doing what I'm doing now is volunteering. I'm here to ask you to waive some fees for our Habitat for Humanity. We are having our 35 years, and I've been involved with Habitat for those 35 years, one of the founding members. But we are celebrating our 35th year, and we're going to be using the Brannon Center for our 35th anniversary gala, and also the Cultural Center, the Live Oak Cultural Center. That is for our appreciation for all of our wonderful volunteers, just to show them the appreciation. And what else can I say except I'm respectfully asking you to waive those fees for both of those events.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Appreciate your remarks. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, ma'am. No questions.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So I'm sensitive to the city staff's position of, especially Mr. Salazar. Director Salazar is the ping pong ball here, and we want him to make some income cooking from the Brannon Center, and at the same time, we have a heart and discretion, as Commissioner McGurk points out. So I'm sensitive, Rob, to the fact that you have to play on both sides. And I note that you did not give a recommendation, so I understand that. It is my view that we are placed here to demonstrate judgment. If it's simply the rule book's here, just follow the rule book, we could probably do that by machine. But we are here to issue judgment. The city residents and businesses put us in place to work out the gray areas, not to simply do the black and white, which is much more easy to do. This organization, unlike many of the clubs and others that have an innate benefit in getting together, gathering, and enjoying each other's company, which would be a benefit, is strictly dedicated to the housing of our unhoused, the housing of our homeless, the placement of folks that have not had the same lot in life as others. That's it. That's all they do. That money goes nowhere else. So I speak in favor of it. I know that sounds different from a guy who is a rule follower to the hilt, and I have probably voted differently in other situations, but in this particular one, it is my view that I would support the Habitat event. Nothing more than that. And so we can go for a readdress now if you'd like. Commissioner Martin.
I think the issue is not whether the Habitat certainly is worthy, but I think that we may have figured out that our policy isn't working. There are a lot of very worthy organizations in this town, and it certainly puts stress on staff when they say yes, but you can always go to the commission for an appeal. I just think our policy isn't working because, as we know, the last ones that have come in front of us, we have said, yes, these are worthy, as this one is. So I don't think that the issue is whether the Habitat fee should be waived. The issue to me is whether the policy is wrong.
I have a follow-up too.
Yes, ma'am, in just a second. Commissioner McGirt.
With regard to staff, I want to recognize the difficult position we put you in. We're always talking, not we, some people always bring up the Brandon Center, whether or not it's profitable. And the fact of the matter is, as long as we continue to waive partial or in full fees for the Brandon Center, it's not going to show a profitable. It's unlikely to be profitable. I think that during each budget meeting, the most important thing that we can be shown is how the value is how much we have diminished the revenue, the possible revenue, by allowing fees or partial fees being waived. That is a position that we should never put you in a negative light because of what we're doing in making these decisions. So I want that clear, that you understand that I support the Brandon Center, I support staff 100%, and I will always be willing to bring that up in our budget meetings, that it is us up here who create deficits at the Brandon Center, but that is why we're here, to make these tough decisions. And you certainly can, Rob, call us out and remind us at any time. I'm ready to make a motion, Mayor, if you're...
Sure, we'll have some more discussion for sure.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Got a motion? You'll have your time, I promise. Is there a motion?
Second.
And a second. And now we'll have more discussion. Vice Mayor.
So I was elected to do an line item analysis on why our enterprise accounting items were not breaking even. I stood up in front of 32,000 people and said I was going to line item, make sure these things balance, and that we're fair. We just told, I can't tell you how many nonprofits that we would not do what the people are asking to do tonight for a gala. I can't do that and sleep tonight when we're pushing staff to break even. So that's my comment. We've already declined. We're not the judge. We have rules. Rules are to be followed, not to be thinking of some nonprofits better than another nonprofit. They're all good.
Yep, I agree with that statement. Any other follow-ups? Commissioner Hartman?
So, again, I'll make the point, we followed the rules the last time. They had a fee waiver, they paid the half price, we just paid for it out of our discretionary funds. That's the whole reason the discretionary fund was set up years ago for an event like that happened over at the Marine Discovery Center, was so that we'd have some available line item to pay for some of these things that come up that aren't in the natural budget cycle. I think back, again, Habitat donated $2,500 for a park that we have over on the east side of town, on the west side of town. So it's not like they're not contributing, and I think that's part of what the Mayor and Jason has said. That's part of what our job is up here, is to make those tough decisions. I by no means want to put you in a spot where you have to make those decisions. I think it's up to us. But I think for the most part, we followed our policy up until whatever happens tonight. But, and that's certainly the way to go. And it's going to be a judgment call every time that one of these come before us. And it's just going to depend on what the contributing factors are and how much I feel that organization has contributed to the city. Most of these people who work for Habitat are residents of the city. I know a couple of them very well. Spent a lot of time in Guatemala with a couple of them. So, they are committed to what they do, and I truly believe that this is the right thing to do. And, I'm glad we're having a discussion. Otherwise, I'd have been paying $200 to Kay Walker tonight. So.
There you go. Anybody else with a follow-up? Commissioner Martin?
Just, our discretionary fund can only handle so many of these. And I feel the real question is the policy. We are all clear that Habitat is a wonderful organization, that we appreciate the work they do. I just did Women Build with them. It is the policy with which I have a problem, and for us to be acting as judges on the worthiness of every nonprofit. I just don't feel that that's really something we should be doing, is determining by our own experience why this nonprofit deserves a break, but that nonprofit doesn't. That, to me, is the problem I'm having.
Got it. I understand. And this is one of those zero profit and total volunteer organizations. I often turn to the city manager for guidance and wisdom, and you've sat up here a long time, Mr. Rashida. I always appreciate your view, sir, and I recognize it's in our hands, but we value your opinion, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. When we did the Brennan Center, the idea was to have a community center for the community. And it was, at the time, to be considered as one of the parks for the city, or one of the sport complex. But then at some point, they said, well, how about revenue? Can we make revenue out of it? I think for every city, we would like to make the revenue for every city facility to break even. I mean, that's a goal that I think every city has. But it's obvious, for some reason, I think we were unfortunate when we first started with the Brennan Center. We had hurricanes, then we had the pandemic. So we haven't got to a full year where we could maybe judge and gauge the Brennan Center in a good fashion. Some of these organizations, they're community organized, non-for-profit. Do we like to help them? I think we do. But I think I agree with Vice Mayor and Commissioner Martin that probably it's the policy that we have. So I think if the commission directors, we could go back and maybe revise the policy that we don't have so many requests coming back to the commission. But I think Habitat is a good program. So if you ask my opinion right now, and I'll say, I think you need to waive the fee. But still, I think I need to go back and revise the policy.
So I appreciate that. My take is that, okay, take another stab at it and bring it back to us. Let's have another look at it. And unless anybody objects up here to us entertaining your second try at that. I think that'd be a good idea. So without objection, we'll put you in that order and appreciate your view. I just wanted to say to the Vice Mayor and Commissioner Perrine, with the skill set that we have needed up here for a long, long time, how very important it is that you do and continue to do exactly as you're doing. 99% of the time I'm in lockstep with that direction. This feels different to me, and I can't explain it better than I have already, and so I apologize for making it sound different. Anyone else?
My only last comment is I see the facial expression on our staff to have to go back and spend labor on this, but he also feels our pain every other week seeing these people that are actually, asking for these waivers, and it's been nonstop since we've been up here. It's painful for us. It's painful for you. I'd go out and work for Habitat. I love that group. It's not about them. I'd give Kay a hug right now because she's, having to ask for this and knowing that we've been denying everything up to this point and offering from our own purses to fund these things. And that's not going to continue. We can't do it. We all have hearts up here, and we have a city to run, and so do you. You have a business to run. So I just want to thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we've got a motion and a second, and we've had a robust discussion. Mr. Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Harmon,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
With the proviso that we will relook at the policy, yes.
Vice Mayor Perrine,
Ditto that, yes.
Commissioner McGirt,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pass. Director Salazar, well done. Thank you, sir. Okay, on to item 9A, ordinances, second readings, and public hearings. A quasi-judicial public hearing will be conducted to consider the approval of Rolling Hills Plat construction plan and construction plans, which, if adopted, would authorize the mayor to execute a contract for a plat, recording, and the proportionate fair share agreement on behalf of the city, and approve a right-of-way declaration deed for Rolling Hills entrance to the road. We're going to open the public hearing now. I think Mr. Rashadat is going to have some words after we hear the brief from our chief planner, Mr. Gove. So, Jeff, go ahead. Your report, sir.
Thank you. This is for the final plat approval for Rolling Hills Residential Subdivision. It's 110-acre undeveloped property, and it's at the northern terminus of the existing Sugar Mill Drive, immediately next to the Sugar Mill Estates Golf Community. It's currently zoned PUD. The master development for that PUD was approved by the City Commission in 2019. Following that approval, the Commission heard a later case in 2021 for the removal of 8 historic trees within the property, and that was approved. There are 54 remaining historic trees within the property that the plan has been designed to preserve, and that makes up a lot of the open space that is within the property. There's also a ditch that runs through the property, as you had heard earlier. That is the county's ditch, county-owned and maintained. It still remains in place under easement, and kind of separates the property where the residential component is to the south. There are 3 large treed areas that are proposed to remain as conservation easements to be dedicated to the St. Johns River Water Management District. So that's where a lot of those historic trees are located, and they'll remain in place. So as you can see, there's a large amount of open space. The MDA requires 60% of the PUD to be open space, and that would be just over 66 acres. They have met that and actually provided 69 acres of open space, which has recreational components of trails, a proposed dog park, playground, and small areas within the subdivision that some of the historic trees are located within. The plan is proposed as one phase only with public roads and no gates. So the roadway is open to the public. It has a secondary connection to the north to Mooneyham. That is still a county road, so that will remain under the county's jurisdiction until there's a certain amount of annexations that may occur. The primary entrance down at Sugar Mill, that required a dedication of a certain amount of property from the Sugar Mill Homeowners Association. And they have, that's one of the things you're asked to vote on tonight, to approve that deed that they've already signed to deed the right-of-way area over to the city. It's only about 2,200 acres, or 2,200 square feet, so it's kind of minimal, but it's necessary for the right-of-way. You're also being asked to approve and accept the proportionate fair share agreement that is a result of the TIA process. That also was underwent our review from our consultant and review by Volusia County. And the proportionate fair share is for them to pay for the impacts that it's projected from this development. Total fee for that is $348,625.47. So that would have to be approved here, and then it's sent over to the county council for their final approval and ultimately payment to improve area roadways. This went to the Planning and Zoning Board in September of 2022, and the board then voted to recommend approval by a 5-to-1 vote. So all staff has reviewed this and approved it, and it's signed off and ready to go. And that's it. We're recommending the 3 items that you need to vote on: the deed, the prop share, and the plat itself, which is the plat of contract for plat. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Hey, Jeff,
For your questions there, Mr. City Manager, from the appearance of his presentation, it's that we're approving this project. That is not my understanding at all. So would you clarify?
I just want to ask Jeff a question before could you tell us what's the density, how many units per acre for this zoning?
For this zoning, it's low-density residential, so they could conceivably get 5 units an acre, and they're a little over 1.5 units per acre.
Mayor, I just want to point out a few things about Rolling Hills. This project was approved in 2018. So when the project comes in with the plat to be presented to the commission at this point, the project have met all the requirements in the land development code that it's currently today. The plats presented today for your approval, the plat is really just, it's got some requirements, and these requirements are a survey accuracy to make sure that the survey it's accurate, the monumentation, and also if there is a lot and block layouts, and if there is any easements and miscellaneous dedications. So for example, when you have the drainage easements in a subdivision, then it has to be shown and it has to be dedicated. So you take this plat, and that's what creates your legal description for the property. It just happened that I'm a resident of New Smyrna, and I live on the back of this subdivision. So I'll assure you, if there is anything that I'm worrying about, I would not be speaking at this, as this subdivision is going on. So, talking about the wetlands and the fill, we have changed our requirements in terms of the fill 1.5 to 1 ratio. That's number one. Number two, for the stormwater, in terms of the discharge cannot in the post cannot exceed. It has to be either at or less than the pre, which means whatever you amount of stormwater that you generated when the property is virgin cannot be more than what is at this point. So this is more of an administrative item right now, to go back and talk about the subdivision in terms of other requirements. The subdivision was approved with the prior commission back in 2018. Staff has reviewed it. So this is really more of a procedural in terms of the approval for the subdivision.
Thank you for the clarity. Any questions for either the city manager or the senior planner? Commissioner Martin.
And I understand what we're voting on, but as a concern for this development, I mean, so much, we've learned a lot in the last few years about stormwater. And one of the things I believe is that our calculations do not include water absorbed by trees. So like, for example, I know a live oak, the roots can absorb up to 100 gallons of water. But I don't believe that that rate of absorption is taken into account when we say you have to, even at 1.5 times, you have to calculate retention. And I don't know how we make up for the fact that we're clearly that, you know, not everything here is a historic tree, and there's a lot of trees going down. They just aren't that, you know, we're saving a bunch of historic ones. But the amount of water that those trees can absorb is not included in the calculations, as I understand it, for stormwater retention.
Well, if I may, Commissioner Martin, it is included, because what happened when you look at, when they calculate the stormwater for the site, they look at the site as a wooded site, so they take into consideration the soil and the vegetation on it. Now, when they do the post calculations, that's have a lot of impervious, so it has paved roads, sidewalks, driveways, and also they will have the fill on the lot. So that's taken into consideration as well. So when they do the calculations for the they take into consideration the condition based on the soil test that they've done. So.
Thank you. Any other questions, Commissioner McGirt?
They do.
Commissioner McGirt.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a question for the city attorney. My understanding is that during this plat approval, this is a specific administrative item, and I can't argue things like setbacks,
Correct.
water retention, all that kind of stuff. This is a specific plat review, and that the concerns that I have would have been done in the PUD.
Correct. Back in 2018, all of those standards were set. At this point, a plat won't come to you unless it meets all the required conditions.
Okay. So what I have to say about this project is this is a project that I voted no on in 2018. The reason I voted no for it is because the neighborhood of Sugar Mill it is on one side of it, and then the neighborhood of Terra Trails is on the other. And even though Sugar Mill has large homes on large home sites, Terra Trails, I mean, 5 acres is normal in that neighborhood. So I just didn't feel that this was consistent with the area. I have a problem with a lot of the current building that has been done over the newer developments where the front yard setbacks are real short. There's not enough parking on the apron, and then the streets were not made for parking. They're too narrow, but all of the cars fill out onto the streets, and you, at any time of the day, you can drive through some of these neighborhoods, and you can have to weave in between the cars. So there's a number of reasons why I did not like this project in 2018. But that is what it is. It moved forward. It passed. It's now come before us at the for plat approval. And I have, and I think I have checked as much as I can with the city attorney on whether or not I have any latitude on the development, details of the development of the project that belong in the PUD. And unfortunately, I do not. I will say about this project, I am very impressed and very happy that they have found a way to save 54 of 62 historic live oak trees. So I want to commend staff on that because I'm sure this was not their #1 priority from the developer. So I think you guys did a heck of a job at designing this and kind of keeping your foot on their throat as much as possible to be able to save that many historic live oak trees. The gentleman who came up earlier and discussed the water retention. I respect his views. He kind of threw some things out there, but you know, I heard or someone told me through somebody. Can you give me a little more, can you give me a better feeling on how the water retention is being handled, specifically this drainage ditch that it's going to dump off into, and whether or not you feel that this area can handle and that ditch can handle that runoff?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not the person to ask about stormwater. It would be somebody from our engineering department. They have signed off on the plan. I know there was, they not only had to go through us for stormwater, but they had to deal with the county too because they were working around the existing ditch. So it actually had 2 different agencies that had to approve and sign off on the stormwater.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You're not the guy. Would it be, can I make, if a motion was made, can a motion be made, motion cannot be made with any relation to stormwater requirements?
The evidence before you is that it meets all of the conditions, which include stormwater, correct, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay.
So they meet the requirements.
Thank you, City Attorney. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the presentation.
Sure.
Any other questions, Vice Mayor?
I was only going to comment similar to what Commissioner McGurk stated about the gentleman in the audience about the drainage, water drainage. And I did hear you comment that that ditch was county, and that if you could just comment that what he was alluding to about the drainage not being proper concerns that would be coming from the county, not us. Is that correct? Or they signed off before we approved this plat? How does that work since this was done several years ago?
It's my understanding that it's all been reviewed by engineers for the city and the county for any association or impacts to that ditch. And it wouldn't be here if it wasn't approved by those technical people. Some of your concerns, the PUD, the MDA actually addresses it. The parking issue, it's stated in there that there will be no parking on the streets and that each lot has to provide 4 parking spaces, 2 in the driveway and 2 in the garage.
I appreciate you saying, but you're not intentionally baiting me, but I got a lot of opinions on that. That's what we've done. I
Okay.
like it. But
I'm just saying, this is one where that's been addressed because the problem was recognized in time to do that.
I don't want to get into it. Thank you.
And one more point about the MDA and the density. The MDA actually allows 196 lots, and it's down to 182, and some of that is a result of, tree preservation. And
Thank you, Jeff. Commissioner Martin.
In sympathy with Commissioner McGurk, how long are the driveways?
Well, the front setback's a minimum of 20 feet, so that would allow for a 20-foot deep driveway.
That's better than what some of the previous ones have been. But yeah, you're going to get my goat on this, huh? But we can't. That's not what we can vote on tonight or maybe.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, very good. Thank you for your report, Jeff. Is the applicant by chance present? recognize Mr. Storch.
Okay, so the bottom line is, I just want to respond to a couple of things. As you know, as the mayor has indicated, as the city attorney has indicated, the issue is, this is a plat at this point. It's a simple question. Does it meet these criteria? Is it consistent with the comprehensive plan of New Smyrna Beach? Yes, it is. You've just had the testimony that it meets those criteria. Is it consistent with the zoning on this particular site? Yes, it is. It was a PUD, and it was a fairly complicated PUD, by the way. And so that's why you had the tree issue where you preserved so many trees. But on top of that, I thought I'd share this with you. Because of the time frame it took to get all this through and everything pulled together to make sure this was done right, they had to go back and redo the tree survey because trees had grown. So you had more historic trees after doing this. So that's one of the reasons why we have so many historic trees on the site. And so you have that as well. So, but the important thing is, the way this is done, you have large areas of conservation areas with those trees on them, as opposed to individual trees here and there. So I think it actually is a very good project. It'll be a really nice project to live in. But the important thing for today is your plat requirement, your state statute, and the case law clearly indicates if you meet the comprehensive plan, if you meet the zoning, and if you meet every land development regulation, which your staff has indicated you have met, then it is a ministerial act at that point. And a ministerial act basically is not something you're subjective. So if it meets the criteria, the mayor is right. You're not approving this project. You're approving a plat that meets the state statutes and the city zoning. And that's all we can do at this point. I mean, if there's any issues as far as whether it meets that city zoning, that's an issue to talk about. But I think in this particular case, your testimony has been, it meets everything. And I should point out that the gentleman here that was concerned about the conversation he had with the county as far as the water going into it, the city manager is absolutely correct. We're not allowed to increase the amount of runoff on this site from the natural standards. All those trees that are on there, we're not allowed to increase it at all after you build this up. But what the gentleman probably heard from the county is that we will be required to maintain that ditch for part of this. Even though it's a county easement and the county will have it, we're going to be required to maintain it, which I think is better for everybody because the county maintenance is more sporadic than ours would be. So those are the only things I can talk about. There was also a question as to benches, and the benches are required under the terms of the MDA. There were provisions for roofs over those benches to protect them from the heat. Those were not required, but there was a question as to whether or not they needed to be dark, and they don't. They can be light. So we're working on that as well, just to let you know.
Does that conclude your remarks, sir?
It does.
Thank you very much,
The
Glenn.
important thing is that it meets all criteria, and it's a ministerial act.
Thank you. You'll get a chance at the end as well. Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Martin?
Are they still going to be metal?
I don't.
That was what startled me, to put metal, comfort stations, if you will, in Florida sun with dark roofs.
The benches are required under the MDA, so we were required to put those in. As far as the roofs, go ahead.
Yeah.
Name and address for the record,
Yes,
please, sir.
Chris Rowley's of Conan Associates, 300 Interchange Boulevard, Ormond Beach. So the benches themselves are required by the MDA, but the material and stuff like that will match whoever the end user is, whoever the developer ends up being.
Which is fine. Again, just seeing the metal in the description startled me.
Sure.
But I appreciate Commissioner McGurk's comments on the trees, because they did do a lot of work to preserve those trees.
Thank you. Appreciate the comment. Any other questions? Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And now, yeah, you want
I'm
another one?
sorry, just one more. Is there anything requiring inspections or how often the ditch needs to be maintained or any oversight, if you will, of that ditch maintenance?
Yeah, the first
And
of all,
recalculation, obviously, for capacity.
Sure. First of all, this is a St. John's Water Management District permit. And so, yes, you have to comply with St. John's Water Management District. They will be looking at this. They continue to look at this. But at the same time, the county, since this is a county easement and a county ditch, the county has the right to make a determination as to whether that's done. This will also be built into the homeowners association requirements as far as their requirement to maintain that part of the ditch.
Thanks,
And
sir.
I can put a provision in. It's not required under the plat, but I'll put a provision into homeowners docs that indicate that they're required to examine it at least once a year.
Thank you, that would be appreciated. As we know, we've run into issues.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll now listen to members of the public. Open for public comment, wishing to comment in favor of or opposing to the project of Rolling Hills final plat and construction plans. Name and address, please. You'll have 3 minutes, and this is a one-way conversation. We won't be answering questions up here, but we'll take notes and someone will get back to you. Mr. Herman.
Randy Herman, 108 Esther. I am asking a question, actually. The calculus that the city manager talked about, that the stormwater has to equate, as I understand it, to what the stormwater is prior to the development. I think that's what you said. With the current climate change and the increased amount of water coming into our state, is that taken into the calculus? Because to say that this meets what the current discharge was before this building may not be adequate with the climate change we're facing. So that concerns me. I don't know if that's the seminal issue for this particular approval, but it does worry me about these larger projects, if that's the calculus, if I'm understanding it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Anybody else for public participation? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. We'll move now, and the public hearing is now closed. We'll first hear closing remarks. City staff, any closing remarks? Very good.
I think I want to just
Yes, sir.
say a few things because I don't want my statement to be misstated. The calculations that I mentioned about is the discharge. The discharge on the property cannot, with the development, cannot exceed the pre-discharge. Now, the project will be designed to a specific storm. So this is what's in the LDR. So if you are going to increase that design, I mean, right now I have not seen anybody increase the design over 100-year storm. So based on what you hear out there in the real world, what we had in Ian, it's about 500-year storm. Now, initially I think when we had the Ian storm, I was talking about, well, let's just go to design for a 500-year storm, but the logic it's beyond that. I mean, if you require a 500-year storm, I don't think you could do any projects anywhere because the system will be just humongous. But it's designed for a specific storm. So when you have your impervious on the site, and when I say impervious, it's any hard surface on site, including your fill, that would be calculated based on a specific storm. So I cannot say, well, this one here has to be designed for the storm that it has Ian, and this one is on a 25-year storm. That's what we have, a consistent requirement in our land development code. So I cannot say, well, based on what I've seen, it's a bigger storm. This is the storm that we have in the land development code currently that we have. So.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on city manager's comments? Okay, city staff has completed their case. Any of the applicant like to have any closing remarks? Thank you, Mr. Storch. Appreciate that. Is there a motion to approve the Rolling Hills final plat and construction plans?
Move to approve.
There's a motion
Second.
and a second. Good, we need that. Any further discussion?
Does
Ma-
that motion include the other two items?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion, move to approve is recommended by staff.
Any follow-up? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Assistant City Clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Has been approved. Thank you very much. Let's move on to item 9B. Public hearing will be held to consider the approval for the application of HTR 1-24, which is approved, will allow historic tree removal for the property located at 729 North Dixie Freeway. Commissioner McGurk.
Thank you, Mayor. I am the applicant on this, so there's absolutely no possible conflict of interest. I'll be sitting down and removing myself from the dais.
Very good.
For
You're
this- for this
recusing
item.
yourself. I think I might join you. All right. Compliance Coordinator Channing Malalo, would you have a report, sir?
Yes, sir. It's a public hearing to consider the approval of application HTR 01-24, historic tree removal of a 42-inch live oak tree on the commercial property at 729 North Dixie Freeway. Subject property, the Dairy Queen, includes two existing developed commercial parcels, 33,111 square feet in total, located at the east side of North Dixie Freeway.
Speak right up into that microphone, pal.
North Dixie Freeway between Eleanor Ave to the north and Wayne Avenue to the south, and Zone B3 Highway Service businesses. The subject tree is a live oak within the development of a commercial lot in immediate proximity to pedestrian parking and outdoor seating. The applicant has submitted an application requesting approval to remove the subject tree due to its physical health condition. As noted in the arborist report on my slide, prepared by an ISA certified arborist, the location and condition of this tree is considered both a safety and structural issue for this existing property. The applicant has conducted numerous trimming efforts in the past, with the tree remaining and becoming even more of a hazard to the applicant. On the PowerPoint, there's an excerpt from the ISA certified arborist noting that this live oak is growing on the west side of the property and is retrenching, dying back, and falling apart. The tree is heaved over at about a 30-degree angle to the south. The bark is slowing off at the main stem, and more than half the canopy is dead. This tree, as quoted by the arborist, is a hazard and should be considered for removal. So with that, staff recommends approval of the removal of the historic live oak, considering the numerous safety and structural issues possible from its current location. The remaining trees to be preserved on the property as well. With the removal of this tree, the site would exceed the minimum requirements of one tree per 2,500 square feet of the property. The minimum for these two parcels is 13 trees. With the property currently includes 33 trees, to include another 49-inch historic oak on the southeast corner of the property. So if approved, there's no recommendation to necessitate replacement of this tree at the time. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, appreciate that. Is there any questions for the compliance coordinator? I have a couple. Looking at that slide, is there any, what caused the tree to die?
It's not directly, there's no direct cause in the arborist report. However, there's plenty of environmental factors included in the development of this lot that could have contributed to the root system being impaired.
My expert arborist tells me that the pavement that is directly next to the tree that you see in the lower picture there, that was put there when the, nope, go back to the slide you were on, right there. Is there anything in your code, book of codes, that requires a certain distance of any impervious surface like concrete or pavement or something from the base of a tree?
I'm not familiar with anything.
That's what I'm told by the expert
difference.
arborist that I know, is that you won't know it for 20 years, and then the tree's going to die every time because of the way that pavement is impending on the roots. So might commend you guys to go and check it out. Look at the, get yourself your own expert, not Cleveland's expert, and find out what kills our trees. I think you'll find that there's a consensus among the arborists that paving nearby the tree or cementing nearby a tree will cause it to die. So maybe you should employ some kind of setbacks or something like that. All right, thank you very much. Public hearing is open. Any citizen who wishes to speak on this item, please approach the podium. For your 3 minutes, you'll be heard. Seeing none, public participation is now closed. Is there a motion to approve the application HTR-1-24?
So moved.
There's a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you so very much. Public hearing will be conducted to consider the adoption of the following ordinances regarding annexation for the property located on Page Avenue. This time, the city attorney will read ordinances 2824, 2924, and 3024 for the second time by title only, please.
Ordinance number 2824, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing 5.6 plus or minus acres of property located on the north side of Page Avenue, east of Trophy Hunter Trail, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 2924, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 5.6 plus or minus acres of land located on the north side of Page Avenue, east of Trophy Hunter Trail, from Volusia County Environmental Systems Corridor and urban medium intensity to city conservation, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 3024, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 5.6 plus or minus acres of property located on the north side of Page Avenue, east of Trophy Hunter Trail, from Volusia County RCA Resource Corridor and R4A Urban Single Family Residential Airport Overlay to City CA Conservation Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Senior Planner Nathan, your report, sir.
Yes, sir. So the property owner, which is the City of New Smyrna Beach, has requested a voluntary annexation, a comprehensive plan amendment, and a rezoning from Volusia County future land use designation of urban medium intensity and environmental systems corridor, and a Volusia County zoning designation of R4, urban single family residential, and resource corridor with an A attached for the airport height notification zone, to a city future land use designation of conservation and a city zoning designation of conservation with an A attached for the airport height notification zone. The site contains approximately 5.56 plus or minus acres. It's located on the north side of Page Avenue, east of Trophy Hunter Trail. At the regular scheduled meeting on April 1st, 2024, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 for a positive recommendation to the City Commission to approve the requested overall annexation application. Staff also recommends the City Commission to approve the requested annexation, small-scale comprehensive plan amendment amending the future land use to city conservation, and rezoning to city conservation with an A attached for the airport height notification zone. Also let you know this was part of the Turnbull Creek acquisition that the city purchased. And basically that's a summary of the staff report. It's up to any questions that the commissioners may have.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Mason. Appreciate what you've done there. We're going to open a public hearing at this time. If there's any citizen who wishes to speak on this particular topic, please come forward and you'll be heard. Seeing none, public participation is now closed. Now the City Commission will consider the adoption of each ordinance one at a time. So is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2824?
Motion to adopt ordinance 2824.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Harmon,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion's adopted. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2924?
Motion to adopt ordinance 2924.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Harmon,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion's approved. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 3024?
Motion to adopt ordinance 3024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Then there's a motion and a second. Mr. Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin,
With the proviso that it will be deed restricted to conservation, yes.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you so very much. City Attorney will now read ordinances 3124, 3224, and 3324 for the second time by title only, please.
Ordinance number 3124, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing 1.5 plus or minus acres of property located on the north side of Page Avenue, east of Trophy Hunter Trail, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 3224, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 1.5 plus or minus acres of land located on the north side of Page Avenue, east of Trophy Hunter Trail, from Volusia County Environmental Systems Corridor and urban medium intensity to city conservation, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 3324, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 1.5 plus or minus acres of property located on the north side of Page Avenue, east of Trophy Hunter Trail, from Volusia County RCA Resource Corridor and R4A Urban Single Family Residential Airport Overlay to City CA Conservation Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. See, the senior planner is in position. Your report, sir.
Yes, sir. So the property owner, which is the City of New Smyrna Beach, has requested a voluntary annexation, a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, and a rezoning from Volusia County future land use designation of urban medium intensity and environmental systems corridor, and Volusia County zoning designation of R4 urban single-family residence and resource corridor with an A attached for the airport height notification zone to a city future land use designation of conservation and a city zoning of conservation with an A attached for the airport height notification zone. The site contains approximately 1.48 plus or minus acres. It is located on the north side of Page Avenue, east of Trophy Hunter Trail. And this is also a property that's part of the Turnbull acquisition. At the regular scheduled meeting back on April 1st, 2024, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 for a positive recommendation to the City Commission to approve the overall annexation application. Staff also recommends the City Commission to approve the requested annexation, small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, changing the future land use to city conservation and rezoning to city conservation with an A attached for the airport height notification zone. And that's a summary of the staff report, subject to any questions the commissioners may have.
Any questions for Mr. Mathan? Thank you, Bob, for your thoroughness. I appreciate you being here. Public hearing is now open. If there are any citizens who wish to speak on this topic, please come forward and you'll be heard. Seeing none, public participation is now closed. The commission will consider adoption of each ordinance separately. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 3124?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second.
Can I get the first and second again? I'm sorry.
First.
Thank you.
Martin and McGurk. Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes, the
Thank you.
motion's been adopted. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 3224?
So moved.
There's a motion
Second.
and a second. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes,
Thank you.
3224 has been approved. Is there a motion to adopt 3324?
With the proviso that we verify that it is deed-restricted conservation, I move to adopt ordinance 3324.
This property, in addition to the previous, are already deed restricted.
I just checked on clerk.org and I verified it.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adopt 3324?
Yes, so moved.
Is there a second? And a second. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motions are adopted and carried. Now we'll move on to item 9I. The city attorney will read the ordinance 3424 for the first time. This item is a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment and requires public hearings, and voting on both the first and the second readings. Second reading for this public hearing will be conducted on June 11th, 2024. We'll conduct the first one tonight.
Just one clarification. We send it off to the state. We won't know when we get it back, so we don't have a date yet.
So we don't
for
have
the-
that June 11 date may not hold.
Correct.
All right, very good. I see the Development Services Director at the podium. Your report, Mr. Corbin.
One second. Ordinance number 3424, an ordinance amending the City of New Smyrna Beach Comprehensive Plan, changing the future land use designation of 1,618 acres located south of State Road 44, west of I-95, from city agriculture, forestry, resource, and conservation to city industrial mixed use, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps, providing for required transmittals, providing for public hearings, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Director Corbin.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to present on Deering Park Innovation Center. I'm pretty sure everyone at the dais has heard of this project. The last time we presented on it to you was back in December, but it's got a pretty long history. Just to remind you, this is approximately 1,600 acres. It's a mixed-use plan unit development proposal. 6 million square feet of non-residential structures and 2,150 residential units being proposed. Approximately 400 acres of the site would be designated as natural vegetation or conservation. So there's 3 items in order for this to get through this body that have to be approved. Tonight, we're only looking at number 2. So I've got a more detailed presentation, and I know Mr. Storch does too. The PUD is where you guys are probably going to want to pay the most attention when you get into the details of how long are the driveways going to be, how many parking spots are we going to require per unit. The stormwater comes later. All we're looking at really tonight for consideration is the change in the future land use map, and can we go ahead and send that off to the state? Meanwhile, the PUD proposal, planning and zoning, asked to see that again. They wanted more details. They didn't want to send something to you that they didn't feel had enough details in it, so they requested additional details. We've got a red line now with those details in it. That will be going back to P&Z and let them take another bite at it before it comes to you all. And they could even ask to see it again if they're not happy with it. And then at the next meeting, you'll see the text amendment that will actually add Deering Park into the comprehensive plan in the industrial mixed-use future land use category. But again, to try to keep things simple, we're just looking at the future land use map tonight. We're trying to get all of that land designated into one future land use category so that the project can move forward. Give you a little bit of the history. Really, this idea really picked up pace in October of 2021 when the New Smyrna Beach Economic Development Advisory Board hosted a public workshop, and 100 people attended that, and 45 survey participants gave their input. And what came out of that were three main goals. And that was to diversify the tax base, enhance utilities infrastructure, and ensure quality labor pool. Following that, in February of 2022, the Southeast Volusia Chamber of Commerce Leadership Summit was held. And that's the first place I can find where this project was actually put on paper and into maps. And so I guess the idea had been bubbling around for a while, and then someone actually put it down on paper in February of 2022. Moving on to October of 2022, the New Smyrna Beach Commission approved the Southeast Volusia Regional Economic Development Strategic Plan. It rolls right off the tongue. And the first strategy there was to prioritize a minimum of 3 sites in New Smyrna Beach that would be shovel-ready. And the number one site that was picked out was this site that we're going to be talking about tonight. And then in January of 2023, staff began conversations with the property owner. That moved into a series of meetings where staff was meeting with the property owner and Mr. Storch, developing a concept plan. Once that got to a point where we felt that it was presentable, it went to a pre-application meeting where our technical reviewers got to have their first glance at it. And then in April of this year, the application was formally submitted. So it's already gone through quite a bit of review and had lots of discussion. Here's a snapshot of the Southeast Volusia Economic Development Strategic Plan from 2022. And here's where it shows the workshop results. This is the first place I could find that was on paper, and it became official as a target area for development. So what's come together here, if you look in the center of this image, you can see where there's basically these big color blobs. So those are just conceptual areas for different land uses. And in the purple, it is industrial mixed use, and the red would be commercial mixed use, and then the orange and yellow and even almost like a tan would be the residential areas. And the idea with those would be the density would be higher near the industrial mixed use areas. People could potentially walk to work. The whole area would be interconnected with the trail system. There'll also be a regional park, police substation, and Glenn has some slides. I think he'll get into really the details of that. But just some project highlights. There's 423 acres of industrial mixed use, 136 acres of mixed use commercial, 26 acres of mixed use residential village, 343 acres of residential rental village, 452 acres of single family residential, 60 acres of a regional sports park, sports complex that they would donate to the city, 18 acres for city police, and New Smyrna Beach utilities facilities, and again, approximately 400 acres of natural vegetation or commercial. So again, this has gone through quite a bit of conversation so far, lots of meetings with the city manager's office, the pre-application meeting where planning, engineering, building, utilities, fire all got to comment on it. Then we got to the formal application, again, planning, engineering, building, utilities, fire, and then we got into traffic. And so the traffic has been looked at. Glenn will have more details on that. But basically the way that works in our review process is they hire a traffic engineer, and then we've got a third-party engineer. Those two engineers talk together, so they're not being paid from just the applicant. And they agree on methodologies and the numbers that are going to be used, and then they do the traffic modeling. So from here, what will happen is if you all vote to approve it, we'll move it all on to the state, and then at least 40 additional agencies will look at it, including all of the communities, incorporated communities in Volusia County, St. John's Water Management District, various state agencies. And the point that I'm trying to get across to you is this is going to be looked at with a fine-tooth comb. Stormwater, of course, always an issue. I've heard several conversations about that tonight. And so the concept is the engineers model the discharge and the discharge rate before any development occurs, and then they install a stormwater system that will hold the water on site and discharge it at a rate no greater than pre-development. So that's consistent across the board. So here's what you all are tasked with looking at tonight. We've got these various different colors on the map here. Those are different future land use designations, and what we're trying to do is get those all designated to industrial mixed use. I included one slide on the impact analysis. As is, about 140 residential units could be built on this property on very low density, either 1 acre tracts or 20 acre tracts. In the planning world, we don't consider that to be the highest and best use of property. If it's going to be developed, you want to develop it with some density so that you're not basically sprawling out. In addition, it could have over 400,000 square feet of non-residential structures on it. And the applicant is proposing 2,150 residential units and 6 million square feet of industrial mixed use. So again, this is, it's been to the Planning and Zoning Board. They recommended approval of the 4-2 vote. They did not propose any additional conditions on it. So now it's here for a first reading with you all, and if you approve it, then we'll send it to the state. They've got a 28-day response time. If anybody wants to make any comments on it, they've got 28 days. We suspect with a project of this size, we'll probably get some comments back, and then we'll have to work through those. We'll see what happens, and then eventually we bring it back to you all for a second reading. And our recommendation would be to approve. I can take some questions, but you may want to go ahead and hear from Glenn. He may be able to answer stuff for you right off the bat.
Appreciate your recommendation, appreciate your work. City Manager, would you like to say something before we get started?
I just want to say something brief because I've heard some comments that just want to make sure that everybody understands that we have approached the developer for this industrial park. You could recall from the previous economic development, and also I have mentioned to the commission previously, that really my goal from a long time ago is really to have an industrial park for New Smyrna specifically. And the reason for that is in order to diversify the tax base, I don't have any area within the city that I could attract big companies to move to New Smyrna. So in order to do that, I need to have really a 5-star industrial park. And this is probably, we were looking at this area some time back, and it just happened that their attorney was looking at this project, and I approached them and I said, you know, is it possible that we could work with you in an industrial park? So currently, the city budget does not allow me to buy any properties to develop the vision that I have for the industrial park. That's number one. Number two, as the area grows west, we have no recreational activities for them. This 60 acre is almost the same size as the sport complex currently we have. Just think about that. And then also as the city grows farther west, you know, I need to have, whether it's a police station, whether it's a substation, and then a community center. So I'm really getting almost like three different activities that I'm looking for in one project. So I just want to make sure that they did not really have industrial park in their plan. It's something that we approach them to include there in their plan. So I just want to make sure that this is clear to everyone.
Thank you, sir. Before you depart, any questions for our Development Service Director? I've got a couple. Shane, not everybody knows that you're a former city manager of a small vacation city just up the road, and you've got a lot more experience than just your planning experience. You went through this very well, and I wonder if you are thinking of designing for this city, your new home city, the perfect new city, new town of New Smyrna. Have you thought your way through, or does that part come when the PUD gets discussed and discussed, of everything you ever wanted under the sun to make sure that it's in there? We have a greenfield place, and you've got the opportunity of a lifetime to make it exactly like it needs to be for our residents. Have you already gone through those things in your head, and have you got your staff tuned up? Because you are designing the new town for New Smyrna.
Mm-hmm. I think this is an appropriate use, and all the conversations we've had with the applicant have been positive. We've gotten pretty much everything that we've asked for. Of course, we could always have a bigger park. Sorry. But it's a pretty good sized park, and it would serve regionally for the area. We know the area is going to grow. As you all are up here trying to make tough decisions about budgets every year and whether to raise a millage rate or not, you really have to do something like this in order to diversify the tax base if we want to reduce just the property taxes on the residential property and the residents. There's really no other option. You'll have to continue to raise the millage rate over time to meet the needs. So if you don't do this, you won't have an option there. In addition, this is really, from a planning standpoint, it really is a perfect location for something like this. With the exposure on 95, that's what companies are looking for. They want the free advertising to build their corporate headquarters, and everyone knows where they're at. Of course, New Smyrna Beach is, as you know, a great little town. And I would think that this could be very attractive for a corporation to come in and set up a home base here. And it's on the other side of 95. It's not along 44 or US 1. When we look at some of the things that have been said about trying to insert more industrial onto 44 and US 1, you start to think about it, it's like, well, that's not really a compatible use on those streets. I mean, you see how even if we bring in a proposal for a fast food restaurant near A1A, the liquor store, how the neighbors came out against that. If you were to try to insert any industrial into some of these areas adjacent to neighborhoods, it would get shot down as well. You'd get a lot of opposition. So this is a location that's off the beaten path a little bit. It's got great visibility from 95. It's got great access to 95. Really, the only thing that it's missing is heavy rail. For if you want like a big industry to come in, they need a rail line. And there isn't one of those, but I think you could definitely do well with corporate offices and other facilities.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm frankly embarrassed that we established priorities affecting 32,000 people based on the input of 45 people and various stakeholders with aligned financial interests. So I find that a very difficult argument for this. That's a statement. I'd also like the community to be aware that the amount of water that would be used by this proposed development will abbreviate the timeline for toilet to tap water processing. Aside from the ick factor, ROI water is substantially more expensive to provide and will have a huge impact on everybody else that's not in this, it's not confined to Deering Park. And then on a night when we just gave another $500,000 taxpayer dollars for low-income housing, I am confused why we would encourage a massive new development that includes none. If we are in fact creating a whole new town, part of that reality is that low-income housing is needed. And I believe that, as the developer wants additional concessions from the city, it would seem appropriate for the city to request this. I just think it's an integral part. People are going to have low-income jobs in this development. They need to be able to live there too. So that's my input.
Commissioner McGirt?
Thank you, Mayor. So I always find the word industrial a little bit intimidating. This is a huge project, and this is, as everyone is recognizing, a defining project for the city of New Smyrna Beach. I want to make sure we get this right. The challenge of the details, and that's all in the details. A sports complex, that sounds great. What does that mean? Who's building it? What is it going to entail? What's the city's role? What's the developer's role? And I want to bring up an interesting point is this is a long-term project. Being involved on boards and committees and different things over the past 20 years in this community, I can tell you that if you look at just Venetian Bay, attitudes changed. I can tell you that pocket parks were the rage. Everybody thought a pocket park in a new developed neighborhood was a great idea. Now there's a bunch of people who actually moved into these homes 15 years later, and they're like, what the heck's that empty lot for? I can't do anything with that. What are we using it for? So how do we get the detail right, but also have the ability to pivot and adjust when when standards change? And I don't have an answer for that, but I can tell you that I've seen all this happen, and it's very important that we recognize what's happened in the past so we can move forward and make sure we get a really good project. There's a lot of residential in this, and again, I've said I don't want a pig in a poke. What I don't want is thousands of homes being put in under the guise of manufacturing and good light industry and development and big tax base from companies coming in. And, we don't see that. That takes 20 or 30 years to develop. But all the homes come in 10 years. And we still haven't seen the real beneficial part. More homes and more homes and more people. And you know who's going to want all those amenities that we're talking about in here? The same people who've just bought these homes that we just built. So it has the potential to be a really fantastic project. But the detail in the phases of how this goes, and I think I've mentioned it to Glenn, I've mentioned it to staff, the importance is don't just give me the residential and say the rest is going to follow. So I'm going to stop at this point, listen to more comments about it, but that's where I'm coming at with this. As people say, we really need to get this right. There's a lot to it.
Sure, and the details will all be in the PUD, and there are some controls built in there about percentages. So you can only build X percent of residential without building Y percent of industrial and commercial.
So what I'm hearing is that PUD, when it comes, that's our time to shine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also, just if I may, Mayor,
Sure.
just to add to that, just kind of to clarify, the area for the sport complex is being dedicated for us. It's our responsibility to build the sport complex. I just want to make sure that is the city's responsibility to do that, so.
Yeah, all those details are very important
And,
to know, and there's probably so many details like that that we still have to uncover.
I'm with you 100%, and this is really, I would call this is on the conceptual phase. So when you get into the actual PUD and actual design, that's really where you need to do the work. So we will make sure, because I think we discussed all these items during the meetings with the applicant. That's how we came up with this concept. But then again, that concept might change slightly depending on, you know, your stormwater system, your roadway system. I mean, there's quite a bit of things that has to go into it that will finalize the final design. But again, I'm with you on the details. Sure.
I will say, I think some of the planning and zoning members watched the workshop that we had in December, and they heard you all talk about the details, the devils are in the details, and that's why the PUD is going back to them. They asked for a series, I think it was about 12 or 13 additional items that be added to the proposal, and so the applicant has done that. It'll go back to them, and then again, they may have another round of comments before it gets to you. But it is being worked on.
Commissioner Perrine.
Yes, thank you. Being on economic development 4 years before I've had this seat, I can tell you that I have heard nonstop how our community needs better jobs for our children and our grandchildren. And I've also heard from citizens and past mayors and past commissioners that we need to balance our budget, and that tax basis that we can afford to pay for the sports complex and the police station. Our city's growing regardless if we want it to or not. And by changing the zoning to make it industrial versus what it is now, being probably potentially development, is huge for us. We are actually looking at how much we've spent in bond money over the last 20 years, and it doesn't equal the 400 acres we're going to conserve immediately with this project. That just never happens. I've never seen it happen, and that is huge. So we've talked to Utilities Commission, and they told us that this isn't a problem with infrastructure. A lot of these details are going to be hammered out in the PUD. I've met with Mr. Storch, and I too, like Commissioner Martin, would like to see some affordable housing here, because we're going to have teachers possibly live in that area, and we've talked about having an area with accessory dwelling units just in the back in some of the areas where they have to be a one-year long-term resident. No short-term rentals allowed at all. And so those are things that I would like to see personally, and we're going to do it right. I mean, all the way down from infrastructure. We have learned our lessons from past developments. This is the only opportunity we have to make it right for our future generations. Yes, we're concerned about conservation. And yes, we're concerned about infrastructure and flooding, but the new developments that have been coming in have been proven from our experts that didn't cause the floods. The existing older homes that weren't built to code now, our code now is stronger. These things are so important, better jobs for our community. Our median wage is so low, it is terrible. So it's how do we attract good people here? By having better jobs here in our community, better schools, better infrastructure. This is a way that we can pay for all that. One of the things that I tasked and challenged our staff was to give us those numbers. How does this look on paper? If we were to do this as an estimate, what's the new revenue that we're going to get from doing this new zoning versus it being willy-nilly development? It's huge. Again, we are saving taxpayer money from years and years to come, because if we don't do this, we've got to keep raising the millage rate. So we got to do it right. It isn't an option in my mind. I've been listening to this since 2008. Now we're finally doing something about it.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? So Shane, before we turn it over to Mr. Storch to give his presentation, and then we'll open it up to the public hearing. Heard me say before that we've got Old Town New Smyrna, where we're sitting right now, it's full. We've got Midtown New Smyrna, which is just to the west of here, maybe out to Mission. It's 80% full. Commissioner Perrine is right, and I believe she is. Center of our town in 10 years' time will be out by 95 by population. We have this opportunity to get it right. So we're not going to sprint down the path, and we will, excuse the phrase, we'll probably torture you about item 1 through Z on the PUD, just to make sure that you get everything that you can imagine in your mind is possible to make this the best community that it'll ever be in the new part of New Smyrna. Because the residents here have had it with willy-nilly, and we want to make sure you get that chance. You're going to shape the way this goes. This is the Rashadat dream, to have an innovation park that is a 5-star rating for all to see. And that is a great wedge against the 90% ad valorem tax loading up on the residents. So I implore you, take your time, do your thing. Don't want to see, I want to see the right partnership with you and the developer, and not anybody in your pocket, because you represent the city and the best interest of our population. We're depending on you. With that said, thank you for your presentation. Mr. Storch, you're up, sir.
For the record, I've got to go into a couple things. One is, yes, my client was actually asked to come in and talk with the city about this, because this seemed like a good chance to plan. We had recently bought the 1,600 acres. We didn't have any plans for it. It's an ag issue, but we're raising timber on it. But looking at this, you could not have a better partner for the city of New Smyrna Beach as far as planning, because right now you have a blank canvas, and you have somebody who doesn't necessarily have to do anything right now. They weren't planning on doing anything. They don't have a mortgage on the property. They're not making payments on the property. This is our chance to actually plan this correctly, and these are people who can plan correctly. And as you can tell, we've spent probably about a year now already working with staff to plan this correctly. And I heard loud and clear from everyone that the details are so important. This part of this is not the details. This is a map amendment. And this is the first step of a map amendment. You got the first step, and you send it to the state. You get their comments. You integrate those comments into everything else. But the PUD itself is very important, and that is something we are spending a lot of time on to make sure that all the things we've talked about are exactly what is going to be in that written document, to make sure that this is the future of New Smyrna as we want it to be. But it is nice to hear. I mean, we've gotten so many comments already. We've gotten so many recommendations and requests from the city that we have been able to fulfill, and that's great. It always has to be a balancing act, because if it's not financially feasible, you get nothing. And so we've got to find some way of making sure that it works for everybody. And so that's what we are trying to do. And the things like housing, we are addressing housing issues. The housing issues are very important to me, and I think you'll see when we get back to you with those issues how we're addressing them, because that is absolutely important to have. I don't want to say that we're talking about Section 8 housing. I'm saying we were finding mechanisms so that people can afford to live in New Smyrna. That's so important, and work in New Smyrna. Now, on this map amendment, I've got to talk about a couple things. One, your existing comp plan designations are all based on what the county had on this. These are the exact same as the county comp plan that they had for years and years and years. When this was annexed, you basically just turned those over to the same county designations. Those county designations, of course, do not take into account that this is in fact an urban area, that it has urban services, that you have water and sewer availability, that you have everything happening around this area. It doesn't take into account that your current comp plan basically requires 140 wells and septic tanks, because that's what would be required in this case. And you're not required to connect to the municipal water and sewer. That's not obviously what the future of New Smyrna is going to be. And so if you look at the things that have changed since this comp plan was put into place by the county, now you have the Williamson alignment. Williamson alignment is a major bypass and alternate to 95. That will now be in place. That Williamson alignment will be dedicated to the county within 60 days. And so that part is being done now. You don't have all the things that are planned for this area when you had this initial comp plan. You have, right now, you have South Village that is going through the subdivision process. You have Venetian Bay to the west. Together, those are over 4,000 homes. You have the proposed utility commission campus. You have Walmart Commercial Plaza, the proposed Advent Regional Health Hospital. That area alone is a major hub of New Smyrna Beach. The mayor is probably right. You are moving the center of gravity west in this particular case. You have Ocean Gate 95 to the east, and you have Deering Park North and Deering Park Center mixed-use projects adjacent to the south. The Deering Park North and Deering Park Center projects are approved. They're in the platting stages now. That's going to happen. That's one of the reasons why my client wasn't really doing anything in New Smyrna, because they're focused so much on having to deal with the Edgewater projects. But those projects will affect New Smyrna because Williamson will be there. So to me, we've got to do this in such a way where we plan for all of this to make certain that New Smyrna reaps the benefit of this, and not as individual parcels, not as individual 25-acre parcels or subdivisions or anything else. This needs to be planned regionally, and you need to have a regional stormwater system, and you need to have a regional long-term plan for how this will be. By the way, I should point out that in the new MDA that's going to be proposed to the planning board, and I know this has nothing to do with the map amendment, but that actually says that there'll be no residential built on this site, not a single home built on this site, until at least 1 million square feet of non-residential is built. So there's a much stronger emphasis on non-residential than residential in Deering Park Innovation Center. This also, you know, if you look at this, that you have some conflicts already. You have the fact you have the old county designations, but you have also placed a neighborhood designation over this property as well, and that is the South Village Neighborhood Comprehensive Plan designation. And that designation actually says that they expect urban development on this site. They stress new urbanism. They stress that environmental assets can be protected by significant levels of open space. And they say that the development will be directed into major residential projects with self-contained commercial and employment opportunities. Obviously, all those things we're talking about is exactly what the South Village concept says. I should point out that by going through this way that we're doing this, 50% of the Innovation Center will be open space. So half of it will be open space by doing it this way. Oops. How do I move this? There we go. The comp plan designation is being suggested for you, which is the industrial mixed use. That allows all these things. So it allows for Innovation Park, which is your economic development area, and the light industrial. By the way, this is not heavy industrial. Heavy industrial is not permitted in these sites. The light industrial, the corporate headquarters, those sort of things are permitted. Tech, anything tech, medical tech, biomedical tech, et cetera, all those things are allowed. Mixed use commercial office, that's the area right next to or near 44, but you won't be able to see from 44 because there'll be a 50-foot vegetative buffer along there and just a single major entrance into the area. So it'll be more of a commercial village than anything else. But from listening to people out in that area, you need something west of 95 because of the homes that are being built west of 95, and you don't have that right now. It allows for diverse residential housing. As we talked about, the more affordable, denser housing is closer to the areas that are actually being job producers and commercial. The purpose behind that is because you can live cheaper if you are closer to your job and closer to commercial. You don't have to have a car. You don't have to have 2 cars. You can actually live with a bicycle, with electric vehicles. I mean, these are the sort of things you can do if it's planned properly. And so those things about affordable housing, there are various ways to accomplish those goals. One of them is to have smaller housing. And so that's one of the things we're trying to accomplish. It allows for institutional uses and community uses. We've talked about the fact that the regional park, that community area will be part of it. Police substation, there's also, the Utilities Commission has also asked for a site, and they've also asked for an easement to allow this to connect to the other side of 95 so they can create an entire loop system, which is so important to their future plans. And then, of course, the industrial mixed-use comprehensive plan amendment is consistent with the South Village neighborhood comprehensive plan. The thing that's important to me, though, if you're passing this tonight, is I need to stipulate the industrial mixed-use designation would actually allow for much higher densities and intensities than has been planned on this. We have a maximum of 6 million square feet and a maximum of 2,150 residential units. That allows, when the state is looking at this, that allows for them to look at this with those numbers, those maximum numbers. Otherwise, they have to look at this with the maximum numbers that are allowed for in industrial mixed use, which is much higher. It's a much higher FAR, it's a much higher density. So what we're trying to do is to reduce those numbers, and I have to stipulate to those two units if you're sending this to the state so they can review it appropriately with the studies and everything that we have already prepared. So that's the only thing that's important to me on this one. Again, this is just a first reading. You're not approving this comp plan amendment. Your comp plan amendment is approved when this gets back from the state, and then you can look at it again and decide whether it's appropriate. You'll be looking at it with the PUD at the same time. You'll be looking at it with everything at the same time. So if you're happy with everything, then you approve everything at the same time. You have a planning staff that's recommended approval. You have the planning and zoning board that's recommended approval. And again, I just request that any motion include the stipulated density and intensity restrictions of the 2,150 units and 6 million square feet residential to allow proper analysis. That's it. Any questions?
Any questions for the applicant? We'll start with the Vice Mayor. Commissioner McGirt.
Glenn, when we talk about the people, we have a property owner and or a developer. Are they the both? Who are we talking about right now? Who owns the property?
The property is owned by Farmington North. Farmington North is a sister corporation for Miami Alternatives, Miami Corporation Management. And they are the same company that owns a total of 70,000 acres. Okay,
It's a Miami company.
Yeah, well, they're not called Miami Corporation anymore, but yes.
Okay.
That's who it. So everything from 44 all the way almost to Titusville is owned by my clients in various corporations.
Okay, here's where I'm getting at.
Sure.
So are they also a developer or are they just a landowner? How's that gonna, give me an idea of how that works?
Every time I hear the word developer, it sort of piques my, it worries me a bit because they are a landowner.
They're what?
They're a landowner.
Landowner, right.
But they have now partnered with a developer so that they can actually accomplish some of the things that they're in their goals. They've planned, as you know, a lot of the stuff in Edgewater. They planned a lot of stuff in the county already. That's in the Farmington local plan, but they have not actually committed any money toward development. That's now coming in Edgewater.
Okay, so this all leads to this question.
Yeah.
What projects have these people done that I can go look at? What are their flagship projects that they're gonna stick that flag and say, look at what we can do, look at what we do? This is to be proud of.
Part of our team actually helped develop Babcock Ranch, and that is over in near Fort Myers.
What's it? I'm sorry, for some reason.
Babcock Ranch. It's a huge project in the Fort Myers area that it was on national news. That was the project that was sitting underneath the hurricane that hit us for 11 hours. And yet, not a single road flooded, not a single lot flooded. They didn't lose power, and they didn't lose internet during the entire time. And that was because of proper planning on that case.
Okay, so one of the things I'm gonna be interested in the future is I wanna know a little bit more about what they've done in the past.
Sure.
Yeah. And you brought up something.
I will tell you that the development partner is a company named Coulter.
Coulter.
They're a family-owned company, and they've got a good reputation. We wouldn't have been, I shouldn't say we.
Coulter?
Kolter.
Say that again?
Kolter.
Glad I asked.
And again, we spent a lot of time trying to decide who we would work with. I mean, literally 2 years working to find that person or that company. And they settled on Coulter, which is a family-owned company.
So this is a little premature what I'm gonna say, and then I'll get off it, but it ties into our history here, something Lisa said and something about Rolling Hills.
Yeah.
We have a parking problem.
Yeah.
In all of our new developments, including Venetian Bay. And that is because, and I can tell you because I spent the last 20 years in transportation committees, walkable communities. If anyone wants to know why Venetian Bay and all these other communities have a parking ratio of 1 or 1.5, and everyone's mad about the town center, and it's because walkable communities was the buzz. And the reason Venetian Bay doesn't have enough parking is because the planners and all the experts said, we're gonna have people walk. We're not gonna need to drive to places. We're not gonna need to drive to the town center. I was here, I listened to it all. Right. I got force-fed all of this stuff. And now we see what the walkable community was, the reality, which is no one's getting dressed up nice in Venetian Bay and walking to the town center when it's 95 degrees out after they've put on nice clothes and makeup and everything else.
Right.
At very best, it's golf carts. But, and I don't want to confuse this with what Lisa has been referring to, which, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'm sure you're going to comment, of having a community that is built for people who do want to walk and get out of their cars. But in this case with Venetian Bay, it was the latest and greatest. So when everybody walks around and says, oh my God, I can't believe we don't have any parking, who did this?
Right.
When you say walkable type communities, I want to make sure that we have enough parking for all of the homes and all of the industrial and everything that we hope to get with this. Because I will lose my mind if someone says, we're all gonna walk to some place, because that just doesn't happen for various reasons.
No, I absolutely agree. And I mean, look at the weather. I mean, for instance, first of all, I have stressed that already, that regardless of the fact that we are designing these for walkable communities, we are designing trails throughout these areas. We are designing multi-use trails that will allow for electric golf carts, et cetera. It doesn't matter. We're still providing the parking that's required.
Just because one has nothing to do with the other.
Correct.
We all love walking trails through our communities.
Right.
But
so-
we took away parking because we assumed, okay.
We
So
stressed that. I did stress that.
I wanted to make that distinguishing point to the commission tonight, so when they go forward and hear walkable communities, yeah, you can do it right, like Winter Springs has done in some of their communities, or you can do it wrong, like we did in Venetian Bay, thinking that people were gonna walk to dinner into the town center.
Yeah, and I should point out, these are issues that really are PUD issues. They're not a map issue, and I really look forward to talking about these. But I've got to tell you, there's a lot of things that go into that, and such as shade. If you don't have shade along your sidewalks, people will not walk on the sidewalks. It's too hot. So in fact, we have a tree planting program in the area in Edgewater, where we're going to have trees along those things as well. So there's things you can do to encourage that behavior. But at the same time, I am not going to take away any parking, because I don't want anyone irritated that they can't find a parking place. So I understand exactly what you're saying, but again, that's during the PUD stage of this. Right now, all we're talking about is the first step. You know, this map amendment goes to the state, gives us its comments, and so if there's any, and if there's any questions as to why this is not an appropriate map amendment, I'd be glad to talk about it.
We understand. We want you and your client to understand we're going the full mile, and so we're already winding up. We're already working it up. And so when you hear us talking about it, it's because we want to stress that to you. So
I appreciate
take
that.
it aboard, listen to what we have to say, because know it's coming true. It's
And by the
coming
way,
your way.
These things are online, right?
Oh, yeah. There are people watching.
Because my client asked if they could listen to it tonight, so they're listening to it.
Very good.
I said, I don't know if they're online or not. I'm always here.
Very good. Excellent. Vice Mayor.
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
Just a couple of questions. One, the last line here, it says to allow analysis. To allow analysis of what?
Yeah, when the DCA, or actually Department of Commerce now, is analyzing this comp plan, when they're looking at the traffic, they're looking at everything that goes into a comp plan of change, they have to make a determination as to how much it's going to be.
Okay, so the analysis is by the Department of Commerce at the state.
There's analysis by the Department of Commerce at the state, there's analysis by your staff, there's analysis by everyone as to this comp plan amendment. And if you don't set a bar as to how many units there will be and how much square footage there will be.
I understand.
Okay.
It just said to allow analysis and stopped.
Well, that was it.
Okay.
I ran out of room.
So, and then the other one is, I thought I heard originally you said you did not have a developer yet. Then you referenced Babcock Ranch, and then you referenced the Coulter family. So my question is, are you working with the Coulters, and did Coulters develop Babcock Ranch?
No, the Coulters did not develop Babcock Ranch.
Okay.
So this is.
So the Babcock
but
Ranch
yeah.
I don't understand how it applies as
we have a large team, all right, of working with us. I mean, this is a 70,000 acres.
Yeah, it's a huge project.
Yeah, so we have a large team. One of the main persons on that team is a guy named Ernie Cox. Ernie helped develop Babcock Ranch, and that was
So a member of your team developed Babcock Ranch.
Yes.
But that's not a place that we would
right.
go to see something that the Coulters have done.
No, but you really need to see Babcock Ranch if you can.
Yeah, but that's
'Cause that's-
different from the developer you're talking about, Coulter.
Much of what we're doing is based on Babcock Ranch, so I think that'd be.
Do the Coulters agree with that?
Oh, yeah, they do. And that's the other thing. You see, one of the things I'm telling you is that there's a development partnership. It is an equal partnership. We're not giving this to the Coulter to develop. We have created a development partnership to make sure that Miami Corporation, or the successors of Miami Corporation, are still totally in control as to how this is going to be done in a proper manner. Because again, they've had this property for almost 100 years, most of it, not this part. And therefore, they want to make certain that it's done properly. And they want to have control, because anything that's developed on this property affects the value of the remainder of the property. So that's why it's so important to them. And there's also, I should point out, there's also a legacy to this family. This family wants to make sure it's done right. And when they are done with something, they want people to point to it and say, this is really impressive. So when I say Deering Park, Deering is a family name. It's important to them. There's no Deerings left, but Deering is a family name. And so again, anything we can do to work together with staff, we've done. And we will come back to you hopefully with something in your MDA that meets all your criteria.
Very good. Commissioner Hartman?
I'm good. I sat through the planning and zoning meeting, so
Very good.
I'm on overload.
Thank you for your presentation, sir. Now open the public hearing. If there are any citizens who wish to speak on this topic, please come forward and you'll be heard. Name and address for the record, please. You'll have 3 minutes.
Bob Williams, 767 Pine Shores Circle, New Smyrna Beach. And also, I'm here mainly on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm not going to repeat the points that were made. I do want you to understand that 4 years ago, in the role of the Chamber, as a community convener and an advocacy organization, we had a vision that something like this could happen. But first, it had to start from the elected representatives of our community. Some of you were here then 4 years ago, some of you were not. And we started with those summits, and the goal was to empower the staff to be able to pursue a project like this. And we started with the maps, and the elected leaders and other members of the community drew the maps on where we wanted this to go as a community. And you heard from the staff report, that's really what the summit has resulted in, thanks to the hard work by the leadership of the city and the property owner, whose willingness to work with the city. And I've watched this process, and I have been very impressed with the diligence of the staff to learn from past mistakes, committed to not repeat what happened in Venetian Bay, and challenging the property owner and their developer partners to not make those mistakes. And then I've seen the owner's representative be responsive, and more than you know, has gone above and beyond. So from a public-private partnership standpoint, I think we have a model going here. So I would encourage you, keep this project moving forward. No one is trying to shirk from the details, and we're all respectful of the diligence with that. And I want to thank the property owners for working with us, and I want to thank Khalid and his team for how hard they've worked to do the right thing for our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else for public participation? Ms. Sneziak.
Sorry, the pain pills are wearing off. Cindy Sneezak, 512 Yukon.
Right up into that mic, Cindy.
Oh, 512 Yukon. Great questions. Oh my gosh, I've never been so delighted to hear the questions coming out of your mouths as I have tonight. So let's go back to my whole thing. This is the first time I've gotten to see an MDA and a PUD coming from the ground up because I haven't lived here before. So you can help me with some details in your discussion. What the Southeast Volusia, when I saw that slide come up, the proposal was that this block of land was hoped to be a Class A industrial park. Now it's proposed as industrial mixed use. I'm not entirely sure of the difference there, but I did take a picture of the project highlight screen, which is a great screen. So 600 acres, if I'm not mistaken, a PUD requires that 400 acres would be set aside for for conservation. So it's not a gift, it's a requirement. But correct me if I'm wrong on that. So I also saw on that slide 452 acres, which wouldn't have been in an industrial park. 452 acres is proposed as residential, 343 as residential rental. That's 800 acres, which leaves 25% or 400 acres, which would be the sum total of Innovation Park, if I get this right, and 136 acres of commercial. I mean, those are the numbers. I'm really trying to follow this, and the slides that I see Attorney Storch used tonight are so much better and so better explained than I saw at the zoning meeting, so I really appreciate him for that. So, again, the developer will be selling Deering Park, which sounds like a wonderful place to be. And I'm sure it can be as long as you continue asking the kinds of questions that you're asking tonight. But, that's a lot of residential, and that's a lot of rental residential in an area. I mean, look at Venetian Bay. I think the slide came up, said it was 4,000 homes. And look at all the glut of not very attractive apartments that have already been approved in that general area. So that whole, please look at the whole thing and make it the best you can possibly make it. That's all. I'm excited to see what y'all will do with this and to understand what you're going to really discuss. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. The city have any closing comments? Applicant have any closing comments? Thank you, appreciate that. City Commission will now consider the adoption of ordinance 3424, first reading. Is there a motion? Looking for a motion to adopt ordinance 3424.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. Okay. Appreciate the brave. All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
I'm not ready yet, so no.
Vice Mayor Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGirt?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion carries. Okay, we appreciate that. There are no first readings for tonight. There are no boards or commissions to consider, so we'll go on to the mayor and commission reports. Commissioner Hartman.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on the previous comment from one of our guests about the Memorial Day event. It was very nice, but it was too hot. So I think that going forward, staff should consider moving that event inside. We have 10,000 square feet of air-conditioned space. I think a lot of those residents who showed up for the memorial event would have appreciated some of that the other day. So I think as a future consideration, we should look at moving that event inside because of the time of the year and the weather and stuff like that. But it was a pretty special thing. Both of the speakers were phenomenal. So there was a lot of participation, so I certainly enjoyed the event.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Commissioner Martin?
I had the honor of being included in several events this month, but participating in Women Build by Habitat was the most gratifying. Working with others to paint the exterior of a soon-to-be occupied new house, knowing that the new owner also worked hard to get this house, was just a wonderful experience, and I'm grateful to Habitat for arranging Women Build.
Awesome. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Was really happy to be at the Memorial Day event myself. Wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it. So glad I did. And I want to thank you, Mayor and staff and college for all your hard work. It was really great to see, and I remember campaigning, going to the first one out at the cemetery, and how far we've come from that to now. And I believe you guys were there with me on that one, and you know how much of an improvement we've had. So thank you for that. Our veterans are near and dear to all of our hearts.
Thanks for sprinting back here from your home, which is ravaged by the tornadoes. We appreciate you leaving your family to come back here. Commissioner McGurk.
I will echo the Memorial Day ceremony. Great job. And I'm really proud that we're doing such a great job with both Memorial Day and Veterans Day events. I have always said that once I leave the dais, those are the two things that I will always come back for. It truly is touching. I love the speakers. I love that they told a real human story. And I gotta tell you, it busts me up every time. To hear the stories of the personal sacrifice that people make, sometimes that gets lost. Not sometimes, it gets lost. So anytime there's a veteran who wants to share a story of the reality of what they go through is incredibly humbling. I want to compliment staff on Rocco and Pettis Park pickleball courts. Fantastic job. Very, very good courts, beautiful courts. And finally, it was interesting. I just want to bring this up briefly. I heard the comment during the historic tree removal and the concrete and all that stuff. What was, from a small business perspective in putting that development up, the existing concrete that was pervious, that's non-pervious, was there. The non-pervious was added around it, the non-pervious concrete, or the pervious concrete, I'm sorry. The non-pervious was there, the pervious was added. But here's what I think, if anything about the construction project hurt that tree, it would have been the massive underground stormwater retention pipes that were about 5 feet in diameter, and the massive trenches that had to be cut. And here's why. The city had a commercial residential buffer of 25 feet, which you could do nothing with, other than you can only put landscaping in it. Can't even put a picnic table under the trees at that time. What would have been better is to use that 25 feet for stormwater retention. But because of the strict rules of the residential to commercial buffer, you couldn't even hold water there. Couldn't be used as a stormwater buffer, as stormwater retention. That, I believe, has now been changed. But it's interesting because how each little decision we make affects something. The idea was a 25-foot buffer between commercial and residential was put into place to protect the residents. And I get that. That makes all the sense in the world. The funny thing is, that 25-foot buffer is what required me to put in underground exfiltration and dig a massive trench near that, on one side of that tree. So you do little things, but it's the rock creates the ripple in the pond. And from staff's perspective, I could just see 5 years, someone says, oh, we got to do this to do that. And then someone says, well, why did you do that 5 years later? Because this is the negative effect of it, and how we would bounce around. And we come back, and I will bring this back to parking lots. Paved or unpaved, we now, we had a lot of parking lots that were not, a temporary parking lot you didn't have to pave. And we got in, Pam was very aggressive about wanting to pave everything. And then in the last few years, it's like, wait a second, why do you need to pave everything? So a lot of these things come back. But I just wanted to share that the little details that we make, that we decide, can make big decisions on other things that we don't anticipate. So that's a long-winded way of saying, you know, the ripple in the pond from the little rock that's thrown in. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. You betcha. To Travis Kendrick, thank you for stepping in the gap while Kelly's off at the graduation ceremony for her son. Appreciate you being here for tonight. Excellent work. For the police department over the long weekend, particularly gratifying to see a full force out in force covering the town. So it was very, very rewarding. Today is Skip Deagle's birthday. Skip left us in the spring of this past year. He's the owner and operator of WSBB Radio. Today is his birthday, and I'm sure he's looking down, smiling at his favorite city. Several of us had the opportunity to go to the Southeast Chamber's State of the County address, where we had the tax collector speak, our county councilman Danny Robbins speak, and then the sheriff speak. What a great presentation. Our thanks to the chamber for continuing to put those on. I think our Habitat for Humanity organization, which Commissioner Martin is at all the time, is a unique one, perhaps in the state, maybe in the country. They plan to build 9 homes this year. 9 homes this year. Daytona will build 1. South Daytona will build similarly 1, and 9 out of New Smyrna. So we have an exceptional group there. I want to encourage the crowd to turn out for the June 7th and 8th events on the selection of the new city manager. We have an open session that evening, starts at 6 o'clock. It's here in this room. The next day, public questioning by this group will go on. Interviews will take place privately on June 7th in the morning, but in the afternoon or that evening, the open house, please come out to that, be able to do one-on-one talking with all of the candidates. And then again, Saturday, where you can listen to this group, ask public questions, and then we can have public comments for sure. So please mark your calendar for Friday and Saturday, June 7th and 8th. The last is all praise, honor, and glory to Mr. Rashadat and your staff on the Memorial Day. I think Mr. Salazar really pulled out all the stops and made it a memorable event. You can tell that your commission's proud of the work that they did that day, and it'll always be a continuous process improvement, so we'll tweak it every time, year over year. With that, sir, Mr. City Clerk, have you got a report?
No, sir. The clerk has attached it to the agenda packet.
Very good.
Thank you.
Madam City Attorney.
Not tonight, thanks.
Mr. City Manager.
Yes, sir, just 2 things. I just want to thank the leader services with leadership of Rob and also with Jonah Powers from the Brennan Center. They really have worked hard to put the memorial events on. I received so many positive comments from the commission and also from the residents. And also I want to thank Travis for joining us tonight and did an excellent job. So thanks, Travis, for being with us away from his family tonight. So we appreciate it.
I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate all of you all up here. It's an honor to really share the dais with you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. One last point. All these people are watching, or this is being recorded. You're watching this commission go slow for inventing what's going to happen out west. And that's for a reason, for a purpose. This is how we have acted since this group has been on the dais, and we're not going to change that. We're going to turn over all the rocks before they come back and cause any harm to our town. And this will be the future. This will be your legacy, Colin, as you've wanted for a number of years. And we're just going to make sure it's the right thing for our town. And so as we go slow, please appreciate that we're not trying to slow you down. We're not trying to do anything to harm, but we absolutely want it to be the model for what the city can be proud of decades later, so that when the children of this dais come forward and sit here, they're not going to say, what the heck were those guys thinking? We're trying to be futurists.
But believe me, Mayor, the staff appreciates the questions and the comments we receive, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to have a project that has flaws. So We appreciate any inputs that we get, and you know, we learn from the past. So believe me, it's as much as you want to do this right. All the staff, I think, wanted to do this and more. So we appreciate. So don't take it that we love it when you guys come up and give us some comments and questions. Really, we do.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Without anything further, we're adjourned.